Hello, I'm Dr. William Moylan from the University of Massachusetts Lowell. Today we are going to stretch our listening skills to hear loudness levels. These will be the actual loudness levels that exist in a music recording. Balancing these levels is one of the primary things we control while we are mixing. We will be focused on loudness levels only. Give yourself the luxury today to ignore all other sound information. We'll be able to quickly hear some striking differences of loudness and loudness levels between sounds, and we will work to hear some very subtle changes in others. These subtle changes and relationships of sounds can be hard to hear at first and will require you to focus your attention and perhaps listen several times to the music recording. Allow yourself to compare instruments and voices as being equals, and at times take your attention solely to a single instrument or voice. Listen consciously and with a purpose. Think while you listen and try to remember what you've heard. To aid in all of this, we will compare 3 different mixes of the Beatles song, Let It Be. All 3 versions used the same multi-track source tape and the same recorded tracks. You will need to secure copies of this song from these 3 albums: Past Masters Volume 2, Let It Be, and Let It Be Naked. You will need full bandwidth copies of these 3 versions. MP3, AAC, and other compression schemes alter the original recording and some of the subtle information we will be seeking. The diagrams of these songs that we will be examining will not be accurate if you listen to compressed files, and you will not be able to follow the diagrams if your playback system is not sufficiently accurate. So before we start, ensure that your playback system is functioning properly. Check that it is of sufficient quality to accurately reproduce the recordings. The CD included with the book will help you to determine the frequency response of your system and to balance your 2 loudspeakers. Make certain that your loudspeakers are located correctly in the room and that you are at an equilateral triangle relationship with the 2 speakers. Now, we are ready to start. We will first examine the Past Masters version of Let It Be. This is the version that was released as a single. You'll notice in the diagram that the horizontal axis is a timeline with measure numbers marked and the introduction, verse, and chorus sections indicated. The vertical axis is divided into loudness areas. Let's follow the loudness levels of the vocals and the piano as the song unfolds. Listen to these first 16 measures, but first press pause on your media player and restart this video when the diagrammed music ends. Listen again for these loudness level relationships between the piano and the vocal. Did you hear it the same way? If you didn't, don't fret. It's normal to hear something different. You are learning and discovering new information. Keep listening and keep discovering. Your skill at hearing loudness is improving. Press pause and listen a 3rd time. Did you hear the piano become louder than the lead vocal in measures 12 and softer again in 13? Now let's examine another version, another mix of the same tracks used in the previous version. This version is from the album Let It Be. Listen to the lead vocal loudness relative to the piano in the first 16 measures. And again, press pause on your media player and restart this video when the example has played. Note how the loudness levels of the piano move in relation to the lead vocal and the background vocals. Listen again and bring your attention to the details of subtle changes in loudness levels. These subtle changes are not contained in the diagram. Searching to identify and recognize these small changes will greatly improve your listening skill and will add considerable detail to this diagram and to the others. This is the Let It Be Naked version. Listen to these first 16 measures, bringing your attention to the organ. Did you hear the organ and its changing loudness levels? Listen again for these. Now listen again for the changing levels of the piano. This diagram contains all three versions of the song's first 16 measures. We can now recognize visually that the piano and the lead vocal have very different dynamic relationships between these three mixes. The background vocals appear very differently in the three versions, and the organ has a very different presence, or no presence at all, between those three versions. Press pause and explore these three versions side by side by listening to each version, focusing on some specific instrument or group of sounds. Compare again to a different version. This concludes today's exercise. There is a great deal of information to be gathered from these short excerpts of this song. Spending considerable time comparing these mixes and bringing your attention to the material in these diagrams will greatly enhance your listening skill in hearing loudness. Keep searching for more detail. You'll discover it. This is just the beginning. We will discover much more as this chapter progresses.